Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Outland Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ Film Festival. This is our 38th year, and we have some amazing films. I'm so incredibly proud of our lineup. One of the films we all adore is Outerlands, which screens October 4th at 2 p.m. at the Midtown Arts Cinema. I'm gonna read a brief description of the film, and then we're gonna meet the star of the film and the director. Um, Cass juggles jobs as a nanny, restaurant server, and party drug dealer to make ends meet and pay for their tiny San Francisco apartment. After a one night stand with Kalli, a coworker they have a crush on, Cass agrees to watch her 11-year-old daughter Ari while she goes out of town. Cass and Ari form a bond that spirals Cass back to their own difficult childhood and the pain they've been running from. Elena Oxman's film features a stunning lead performance by Asia Kate Dillon as Cass. Please welcome Elena Oxman, director, Asia Kate Dillon, the lead. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
for having
having us. Hi.
What an
Hi.
extraordinary film. I have not I watched this film on my computer, my little TV. I've not seen this on a big screen with an audience. I'm so looking forward to doing that. So I'm kudos to both of you for this film.
Thank you. It's so nice. We're so obviously glad that you love the film. Yeah.
Great. Elena, what made you want to, how did this film come up?
Sure. And I got to tell you, I read the BART. So out here in San Francisco, the public transport, it's called the BART, and it's been going by this window. So tell me if it interferes with anything.
I can't hear it.
I'm okay, good. I'm gonna go in and out. I shouldn't have set up here, but um, so the film was inspired by a couple things. First of all, the city of San Francisco. I moved here in 2011
Yeah.
and just found a city in a really interesting state of transition, as so many cities are. A lot of people moving out, the queer community in an interesting state too. A lot of people needing to leave for economic reasons. And San Francisco having been this sort of welcoming, embracing place for so many queers over the years, it was just an interesting moment. And I made a short film shortly after moving to the city about a character similar to Cass, who kind of is living in the city and kind of at loose ends, trying to find themselves. They meet a stranger at a bar and have this one night stand, and the short just kind of talks about that one night, but it became the seed of the inspiration for this idea of a character, of Cass's character,
Mm.
who meets this kind of alluring woman, and then things unfold from there. And this idea of combining a sort of adult coming of age story with a kind of poetic exploration of San Francisco, of urban living in this particular city.
What an extraordinary lead performance. Kudos to that. What made you want to play Cass?
Um, I really cared about them the moment that I read them on the page.
Yeah.
They are a person of very few but very selectively chosen words. And a person who is going through quite a lot emotionally and being very guarded about it on the surface. And I was excited about the challenge of playing that, I'll say dichotomy, but of course there is nuance and layers throughout. Um, and I, it excited me that Cass's story was inherently, a queer story
Mm.
because they are queer and trans and non-binary. But it's not the main focal point
Yeah.
of the film. The film to us is a very universal film and predominantly in many ways a film about not only chosen family and community, but about coming of age, actually, and the ways in which we never really stop coming of age. I feel like, the coming of age stories that I grew up with were about transitioning from, either preteen to teen or teen to young adulthood. And then it was like, and now you're an adult and you should kind of have everything figured out. And I really appreciated that Cass was, I mean, because Elena so generously wrote this role for me, Cass mirrored my age, among other things, but not everything, certainly. But so it was nice to get to play someone still coming into their own yet again and again. we meet them at both the end of a journey and the beginning of another, and that will lead to the end of another and the beginning of another. And I appreciated that open-endedness of the film as well.
Yeah. It's such a rich character study, and the characters are just so well drawn and vivid. But the film also, you know, deals with themes, loneliness, addiction, chosen family, queer spaces. Can y'all talk about the fact that there's just a lot going on in this film?
Yeah. You know, I love films where I think of that, the word that comes to mind is like density.
Yeah,
Like you just feel a quality. My favorite films have that quality of density, which to me is about like what I feel like I'm trying to do as a filmmaker. I know many of us are. It's like you have this really impossible task of like trying to capture something of what life feels like
yeah,
what life really feels like. And life itself is uncapturable. Like you're never going to get there, right? It's so, but something about I was really drawn to trying to make the script and the way we made the movie capture as much of that as we could, those just all those layers and to do it in such a way that also even if there's a lot of density, that there's also a lot of space
yeah,
for the audience to kind of like, those again are my favorite movies where there's a certain kind of trust in the audience that like nothing's just being hammered over your head or told to you. You kind of have get to have this experience. So a lot of that style comes from that kind of creative impulse.
yeah,
Um, and then I don't know, like Asia was saying, this idea of like of it, we're always coming of age. Like life is so complicated. Always are so many kind of interweaving things going on, and but those ones you kind of identified about loneliness and trying to find a place, and I would say like coming home to oneself or beginning to understand home as also an internal space. Cass is definitely a character who, in a way, like knows how to take care of themselves. They're like a lone wolf. They like have a bunch of jobs. They do their thing, but like they fundamentally, one thing that's not quite there, here comes Bart, is like a connection to themselves, really knowing how to care for themselves. So that in a way became the arc, and then these other issues around alcohol and yeah, chosen family, and then this idea that I was interested in and has been my own life experience, that as you come into understanding what it means to care for yourself and form a relationship to yourself, that inevitably also involves other people, like the support of other people. You don't do it alone. It's like community. So that's the role of Denise, and the sense of that kind of like holding that Cass has in the movie.
there is.
Everything Elena said, I agree with.
I'm glad, Asia. I thought you were going to say, but.
Actually, no, 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 no. Yes. And those are, and many of the things, obviously, the things you said are also reasons I wanted to play Cass. And I actually just wanted to say that I think when you have, Elena and I fortunately had time rehearsing the film before we made it. We were on a tight filming schedule, as indies usually are. And I think our rehearsal time, not only between the two of us, but also with Larissa Krauss and with Ridley Asha Bateman,
Yeah,
who played Ari. We got some time to rehearse ahead of time, and we had an incredible crew, an incredible props department, set deck department. I mean, every department was incredible, but
yeah,
I feel like the density in every part of the film really allowed then the like silence and the stillness of the film to still hold so much for the audience that they could have time to either process what had already happened or process what was happening or just have time to have their own experience. I feel like when films aren't dense and they have a lot of space and silence, it can be well, that can be a tactic, certainly. And for me, it creates a kind of like anxious tension that we certainly didn't, that was not the intention of this film, right?
yeah. There's some sadness in this film, and then there's some heartbreak at times, but ultimately there is joy in this film, and there's a real sense of hope. Can you two talk about that?
Yeah,
Sure.
my experience of being a human is kind of those two words,
Yeah,
sad, joy. Like that you can't have one without the other. It just feels so. I don't know. I think in everything I write that there's some kind of element of trying to get at that. And I don't know. So it's not even a strategic thing. I want to make a film that's sad, but also has a happy a sort of, and I won't say what this ending is, but it's more if you're trying to be true to sort of what life feels like. I think there's some kind of inevitability to that, that you get that kind of mix of ingredients. What about you?
Mhm.
What do you think?
I totally agree. I was just going to say, yeah, I think joy and grief just go hand in hand. And when you are closed off from one, you're closed off from both. So you have to open both faucets, you know. I mean, and um, certainly when it comes to grief, protect yourself when you need to. But I was also thinking about how, well, it's sort of anecdotal, I suppose, but I was just thinking about how, like, even films that have sort of happy endings or sad endings or endings at all, really, it's just the moment when you then leave the story of the characters, you know, and ostensibly in some layer of the universe, like those characters go on, you
Mhm.
know, to have another beginning or ending or middle or etc. And so, yeah, I was just kind of thinking about how, I mean, I appreciate very much that Outerlands is not a tragic queer story. I mean, Cass lives. What a triumph. And so, and yeah, I think, Elena, I mean, you said the film is set, it has grief and joy, and hopefully a lot of layers in between, and density. Comes back to density.
And it also has Leah Delaria.
And
Yes.
Leah Delaria.
Shout out Leah. Oh my gosh, what a pleasure to work with her for the second time. Um,
Exactly.
Elena and I both, you know, Elena sent me the updated version of the script at whatever time that was, pre-production, and we got on the phone the next morning and we both said at the same time, like, what do you think about Leah you know, her name just came out of both of our mouths at the same time. So that was kismet.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Well,
Jinx.
Do it
well,
again.
well, orange is the new black. I mean, like, wow. I mean, like, what an amazing. But I wanted to ask you. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the significance of being the first non-binary performer on TV?
Well, I don't know. I can't say for sure that I was the first non-binary performer on TV, but what I can say is that I was the first non-binary actor to portray a non-binary character on a major television series. And it felt exciting. I felt very proud. It felt humbling, and it also felt like um, about time, meaning, you know, one of the questions I got asked a lot when, you know, Taylor first appeared on Billions and I was first, you know, getting interviewed about it. A frequent question was, you know, when was the first time you saw yourself portrayed on screen? And my honest answer was now, in the character that I am playing. And so it felt very, yeah, I felt very proud. And I still feel very proud and very humbled and very gratified by being able to be a representation not only for myself but subsequently for so many people all over the world of all creeds and ages and types who related to that character in some way and or to me in some way. um yeah, I feel very proud.
Well, thank you for that. Um,
You're welcome.
for both of you, what is the significance of having a film like this in such a demoralizing, strange time with our administration, where so many people are trying to, you know, pretend we don't exist, or so what is the significance of having, such a great queer film like this?
Well, I know we both have things to say. I think the significance on one hand is it is important to um, catalog queer life, queer experience, fictional, non-fictional, you know, because as you said, that they are always trying to erase us, but and by us I mean queer people, but
Yeah.
particularly trans people in this moment are, a target. And so the historical record is incredibly important.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I the queer films that I saw when I was growing up that I didn't, necessarily see exactly myself in, I certainly saw parts of myself in that enabled me to self-reflect, ask myself questions, and ultimately seek out and find, community that allowed me to align with my authentic self. Um, and so if our film can be that for, a queer person anywhere in the world, but particularly in this country, particularly somewhere where maybe they feel alone, they don't feel like they have representation, or it's not safe for them to be who they are, being able to connect through film um, is I think one of the greatest ways we have of uh, um, distributing access is the clunky way that is coming to my mind to say, but to like reach people, to reach folks. And so, yeah. And I hope, I'm like excited every time the film is shown at a festival. I'm excited for, fingers crossed distribution. I'm excited for, all the possibilities that would allow, just anyone and everyone to see this film.
I would just
And
add, oh,
just one actually other quick thing, which maybe you were going to say, but just I also think that all the things we spoke about that are the themes of the film, particularly that w- you can only really start taking care of and caring for others when you start taking care of yourself. Um, I think that is a universal message and that is particularly needed right now. And also, Cass, even though it's a queer story, they are, I think, a universal character, someone who is looking for love and longing and community. And I think we're all looking for that right now, in particular, also.
yeah, yeah. I would just add, I've been really touched going to festivals, whether queer or non-queer festivals, but just the range of people who feel touched by the film, not necessarily queer folks. I've just been thinking a lot about in terms of this moment that we're in, and like just this idea at how it just is becoming apparent how deeply threatening actually uh, non-straight, trans, identities are to people. And there's something about like the way that these issues are tapping of some very, very deep root. I mean, in my opinion, it's the root of patriarchy. That's why it's so threatening that we have a society kind of founded on that there are two genders. And there is some part of me that recently has been like I don't know how to almost softening when I begin to understand that actually that this view is one that is coming from a place of whether they're saying it like this or not. They're not. They're saying it more as this isn't okay and kind of judgment on how other people live their lives, but really understanding there's got to be a tremendous fear under there. It's something that is so
Mhm.
rocks a conception of reality and how the world should be. And I guess all that to say that like film and films like this, which it's really just a portrait of a person. You know what I mean? It doesn't have a political agenda, although it's inherently political because of the kind of person that it portrays. I don't know. My hope is that people see it and it does just a little bit to have them get to know someone. You know what I mean? That whole idea that a lot of people who are holding these views don't actually know queer and trans people. Um,
Mhm.
so that's kind of like that's maybe overly ambitious that like, oh, is it going to reach that audience or whatever? But I gotta say there is some little bit of inspiration around that. And then this idea of like not trying not to do that polarizing thing of like of returning the judgment. It's like trying to understand, where is this coming from? Because it is remarkable how much it brings up in people. Like what other people are doing with their private lives and bodies brings up tremendous amounts of energy. So
Exactly.
Um,
So,
I two things. Oh, uh, an experience I had more than once when I was working on Billions was I would get a message from someone, a DM from someone, or a tweet at the time from someone that would say like, and I'm paraphrasing, but something like, "Hi, I was a, I'm a conservative Republican. I live in the South. I mean, and I previously hated trans people. I'd never met them. I didn't know anything about them, but I love Billions and I love your character. And I've been following you on social media and I just like think you're amazing and you've really like changed my mind and my heart. And literally, I mean, I have screenshots of these somewhere. Um, and and they're like, congratulations and keep going with your career or whatever. And that's sweet. And I was like, wow, I mean, this is the kind of work. I mean, that like it's real. So it isn't, a big hope and a dream that like you can move people's hearts and minds and I think when people can meet a character, on a screen and get to know them and maybe care about them, it does you have actually shifted their heart and mind, whether they even know it or not. You have actually changed something. You've alchemized something in that moment, and so we can do it. It does work. It does happen. And then there was one other thing I wanted to say, but it may have left my mind, but it feels relevant. Elena, do you remember the very last thing that you ended on? Oh, I just want to say that
Uh-huh.
I just want to say that I having that experience, working on Billions and having people or people reach out to me antagonistically and then me sort of in whatever way I did being like, well, what about, and then being like, oh, and then, and then other times when it was like I've extended my compassion and my empathy as far as I can. This is, there is there's safety now at risk. And I just want to make sure that we both hold space for like softening and also drawing boundaries when we need to for our own like health and safety, which I know you weren't suggesting otherwise. I just want to name it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Self-care.
Yeah. That's the film.
well, thank you both for taking the time and for sharing the film. Outerlands screens at Out on Film October the 4th at 2 p.m. at the Midtown Arts Center. It's an extraordinary film. I cannot wait to share it with the audiences. Elena, Asia, thank you so much for making this film and for sharing it with us. I can't wait for all of our audiences to see it.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
Matt.
us.
Yeah, thanks so much for your support of the
I want
film.
to mention something to both of you when I'm done recording. So hold if you could talk. Hold. Thank you both so very much. Take care.
Thank you.